Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week, 10 days. So today's second video will take us around the 13th of December. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ESM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. And we'll have a look at the CFSV2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. So we've got some quite interesting weather showing up in the models for next week. Looks like as well as we go into the second week of December, we could see things getting colder, but staying unsettled. So this would increase the risk of snow through the course of next week. We've got the general election looming next week, and I wouldn't necessarily say there's going to be disruptive weather for voters, but I mean the charts we're seeing are a little bit concerning for anyone who wants to get out and about and vote at the end of next week. So it could be that the Mars will back off from these ideas in a few days. At the moment, things are looking increasingly cold and wintry next week, I have to say. So we'll talk you through all of the latest data in a moment. But before I do anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So I've had a donation from Anonymous. This person would like to stay anonymous. So that's absolutely fine if anybody wants to donate, but they would rather not have their name mentioned in the video. That's absolutely fine. No problem with that whatsoever. So a big thank you to Anonymous. You know who you are. So a big thank you to you for your donation. And I've also got to say thank you to our second PayPal donor, which is Owen Griffiths. Owen Griffiths has become our second PayPal donor this week. So a big thank you to Owen for your donation. That's really kind and really great of you to do that for us, Owen. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you to Anonymous as well. Of course, if you would like to have your name mentioned in the videos and give us a donation, all you need to do is come to Gazzo's PayPal page, sign in to your PayPal account, and then you can send a donation to Gazzo's. By doing that, you're becoming a PayPal donor for Gazzo's, and we'll give you a mention in videos, give you a shout out if you want one. Of course, if you don't, then that's absolutely fine. But if you do, we'll give you a mention. And yeah, you're helping us to pay for the website, gazweathers.com, and keep the content online. So just a huge thank you to all of our donors that we've had over the past year. Of course, the year's come towards the end, so a big thank you to all of the donors that we've had this year, and those still to come, given that we've got a few weeks of 2019 left. Special thank you to Anonymous and to Owen Griffiths. Alternatively, you can become a patron for Gazzo's. So this is Gazzo's Patreon page. You just come here and sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can give an ongoing monthly donation to Gazzo. This can be anything from $1 a month upwards. You pool in with all of the other patrons, and that's how you become a patron. Gazzo's got 63 patrons so far, so hello. And a big thank you to our 63 patrons, and we very much hope that all of our patrons and donors are enjoying the content that we're producing at Gazzo's at the moment. So a special thank you to our PayPal donors, a special thank you to our patrons, and particular thank you to Anonymous and to Owen Griffiths for your donations. A big thank you to both of you. Right, I'm going to start in the stratosphere. A few people have asked me what's going on in the stratosphere at the moment over the North Pole, 10 HPA. So this is the current situation in terms of the current temperature from the JMA. The grey line is a trend line for this time of year, so temperatures are getting colder and colder in the stratosphere over North Pole at this time of the year, of course. The black line shows the current temperature and where it's been from the start of the season. So that's the beginning of the season, at the beginning of September. That's where we are right now. So we're actually a little bit above average with the temperature at 10 HPA. We have lifted the temperature a little bit. This is not a sudden stratospheric warming. I don't think you'd even count particularly as a stratospheric warming, but it has gone a little bit above average with the temperature at 10 HPA, getting somewhere close to around -60, and at this point of the year it should generally be around -70, so it's around 10 degrees or so above average. If we go a little bit further down to 30 HPA, Well, that's where we are there, and the temperature's actually a little bit further above average at 30 HPA. So that's the current temperature there. Again, very close to minus 60 at this time of year. It should actually be under minus 70 going into December. So yeah, we're definitely a little bit warmer than average, both at 10 and 30 HPA. These are not sudden stratospheric warmings. For that, you would need to get the temperature up here somewhere. They're not even, I don't think, would be classed as a stratospheric warming, but it is a little bit above average with temperature at 10 HPA, and obviously we shall see how much further up we can get that black line. This is the current temperature forecast for 10 HPA over North Pole in terms of the GFS. So we've got those blue colours, those are the cold temperatures in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. We've got the milder temperatures, of course, around the edges. We're looking to get a stratospheric or a southern stratospheric warming going around sort of Siberia or that sort of area and moving into the pole. Let's see what GFS is forecast. This latest 6 o'clock run of the GFS. So we just run through. You see we do get a bit of a warming over the next few days over Siberia with those yellow and green colours. That's not a sudden stratospheric one, but quite a pronounced warming of the stratosphere over Siberia. Not moving into the pole though, and if anything, it looks as though the blues and purples are actually expanding over the Arctic itself and over North Pole. So we will probably, in around a week's time, see this black line becoming colder again, actually, I would have thought. Anyway, we'll carry on running through. So by the time we get through to the 11th of December, we're lifting the temperature further across that eastern part of Siberia. So it is getting a bit warmer there, not though reaching sudden stratospheric warming levels. And as we run to extended range with the GFS, we just keep this warming signal going around the edges of the Arctic, but never moving it into the centre of the Arctic and into the North Pole itself. That's as far as we can get to with up to the 19th of December. So up to the 19th of December, there's no sign of a sudden stratospheric warming. We do have quite a pronounced warming of the stratosphere occurring over Siberia and moving towards the Asian side of the, adjusting to the Asian side of the Arctic in around a couple of weeks' time. But that is not a sudden stratospheric warming on the scale. It's not reaching the required temperature for that. And there's no sign at the moment that that infiltrates into the Arctic itself. So we shall see. We'll be keeping close on it. It's very, very early days. It's only the 3rd of December. You normally get these warmings of the stratosphere, particularly mid to late winter. So, I mean, it's really, really early days to be thinking about sudden stratospheric warmings anyway. And we keep a very close eye on it. Without that, we've got enough going on anyway. So these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles from the GFS for the next couple of weeks. We're at Wokingham today. So someone asked me to have a look at Wokingham. This is another suggested location for this part of the video. If you would like to have your local town or city featured within this section of video, in order to do what you need to do is ask us through the comments at Gareth's Office, or you can email us at garethsoffice@gmail.com, or of course you can ask us via our social media, Facebook and Twitter accounts. So we are always happy to feature your local town or city in this part of the video. So the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Wokingham, and we're starting off a little bit above average temperature right now. It's very close to average really, but the next few days it's actually going to go milder. So at the end of the week and into the weekend, yes, the temperature is going above average, but towards the end of the weekend and beginning of next week, we see the temperature sliding away below average. And then actually next week, dates are on the bottom of the chart, so this is the 2nd week of December. Next week it looks as though we're going to quite a cold spell. Temperatures are going below average, below the red line. There's a little bit of up and down there, telling us that it's an unsettled pattern, but even as the milder sectors come through, still generally colder than average. Maybe signs of a little bit of a warmer interlude into the second half of December. That's right at very extended range of the GFS and its ensembles. Precipitation-wise, lots of dry weather through the next few days. It gets more unsettled from the end of this week and the weekend into next week, turning more more unsettling. In fact, next week it does look very unsettled. At the same time, it's quite cold, so there is some wintry potential next week. Now, I'm sure you'll notice this very dramatic looking green precipitation spike. This is the GFS 6 o'clock operational run. So the thick green line is the operational GFS run. That's the 6 o'clock operational GFS run. Producing one of the most tremendous snow events that we've seen for a very, very many years down across the south around the 13th of December. I'll show you how it does it in a moment, but clearly you can see that it is a very, very dramatic outlier to be going to that kind of scale. So I mean, it's virtually going off the scale. Actually, it's a tremendous outlier, and it almost certainly won't verify. But that precipitation spike is actually the GFS operational run forecasting a record-breaking snow event for southern England. So more on that in a moment. Temperature anomalies from the 3rd to the 11th of December are a little bit milder than average. Yes, it will be relatively mild in the coming few days, getting colder at the end of this weekend and into the early part of next week. Precipitation anomalies, so close to average, really, a bit wetter average in the north and west, elsewhere near normal. Right, that GFS run. So, this is the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. We start on Friday the 6th of December, and we're bringing in this westerly wind. So, it's relatively mild on Friday, but it will be turning wetter windy. That's Saturday, a little transient bump of high pressure there on Saturday, just quietening things down a little bit, but by Sunday, well, late Saturday really, but into Sunday, we're bringing the next batch of wet and windy weather in off the Atlantic. Now that low pressure then shifts away eastwards into Monday, moving into Denmark and southern Sweden. As it moves away eastwards, it turns the winds into the north. So this is the first push of cold air from the north early next week. That probably brings wintry showers into northern parts of the country. So this is Tuesday next week, 10th of December. We're again under a little transient bump of high pressure. So it's actually a little bit drier on Tuesday, but it will be cold. And for northeast parts of the country, there'll be a risk of snow showers. The next low is trying to get in from off the Atlantic. So that one moves in Tuesday to Wednesday. That's running into cold air again. So that would bring a risk of probably rain from the south, but further north, risk of snow on Wednesday, I would think, for northern parts of Britain. That one gets out of the way. This is General Election Day, Thursday the 12th of December. That's out of the way, and we get another surge of cold air from the north. And this northerly is even colder than Monday's northerly. So if each northerly shot, we're getting colder, if you see what I mean. And then keep an eye on this area of low pressure down here. There the upper air temperatures for the General Election Day, 12th of December, and they're looking cold in all areas, so this would be a cold general election with snow showers, certainly for northeastern parts of the country, and probably widespread ice and just generally quite difficult conditions for voters. And then it gets worse, or better, depending on your point of view, because then we go through to Friday, the 13th of December, and there's that low moving up from the south. This is coming up into cold air, and the precipitation on this low will be turning readily to snow. There's the upper air temperature showing they're still easily cold enough to be supporting snow. And so we set up like a blizzard, really, across much of England and Wales on Friday, the 13th of December. Now, bear in mind, this is beyond 10 days away, and we saw it was the most outrageous outlier within the GFS ensemble, with that precipitation spike going off the scale. But the south would be absolutely buried with that. If it did come off, that would be bringing drifting snow and blizzard conditions to many parts of England and Wales, with that low just sitting off the coast of East Anglia. Upper air temperature still easily supportive of snow. That low gets out of the way then. We return back into cold northerly winds Saturday the 14th. And then, as we're up to the end of the GFS run, we actually turn things a lot milder again. Another change as wet and windy weather returns back from the Atlantic. That's as far as we can go to Thursday, the 19th of December, looking wet and windy. This is the precipitation type forecast from that GFS run. I thought I'd show you this. So we begin on Friday with outbreaks of rain coming across the country. Saturday, rather showery, and then into Saturday night and Sunday, wet and windy again. That clears out of the way, and we go into showery conditions again for Sunday into Monday. Remember, this is our first push of cold air from the north, so it's becoming colder on Monday with wintry showers in the northeast. Next area of low pressure heads in Tuesday to Wednesday. That's bringing the risk of some snow with it around the middle part of next week. And then we go into the general election day. It's getting cold, of course, getting another push of winds from the north on the 12th of December. That's bringing snow showers to northern and eastern parts of the country, looking really quite wintry. And then, of course, we got that low pushing up from the south on Friday. So have a look at this. Yes, well, 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday, look at that snow event that's taking place there across much of the Midlands, central, southern, southeastern England. Again, it's an outrageous outlier, but it would absolutely bury the south and the southeast if it came off like that, which it almost certainly won't. Beyond that, it gets milder very quickly, and we're turning the precipitation back to rain by the time we get through to the 19th of December. Snow accumulation based on that GFS run looks like this through the course of next week. So that's how it's looking for Thursday, 12th of December, general election day. It does look as though there could be a little bit of snow around the northern parts of the country. It's overdue for snow desert. There could be some snow around the northern areas on for the general election. So that doesn't make it easy for voting, of course. But then look what happens as we get through to Friday, the 13th of December. The southeast becomes absolutely buried in snow. And on the scale, it looks so some parts of central southern England go up to around 50 centimetres of snow on Friday, 13th of December. With a gale force northeast wind, that'll be drifting snow as well. As I say, it's an outrageous outlay. You can see from there that the way that precipitation spike goes off the scale, I mean, it's just the GFS completely losing the plot. But it's an entertaining run. Anyway, it's not very often that we see southern, southeast England absolutely buried in snow like that GFS run does. So it's a bit of entertainment value, but don't by any means think that it's going to pan out anywhere near as severe as that. Right, GM, and we're looking rather wet and windy on Friday. We're going to the weekend and into next week, and we're turning not only unsettled, but also cold. Winds shifting to the north on Monday. That's our first push of cold northerly winds. Next lows rattling back through during the middle of next week. That brings risk of rain in the south, but could be some snow with that in the north. Not as much of a northerly for Thursday. This is general election day, 12th of December. Not as much of a northerly here, so this isn't as disruptive, actually, for voters. That's not too bad, really, although there could be wintry showers in the north. Day 10 is Friday the 13th of December. The GM does have that low that the GFS wants to bring the snow event, but it's more out to the southwest, and so the air is a lot milder with that low. We don't get the northerly shot on the 12th, actually, so it's running into moderate air, and the air around that low is a lot milder as well. And then we've got the ECMWF, and that one is looking milder, wetter and windier on Friday. Into Saturday and Sunday, staying unsettled. Then early next week, we're turning things gradually colder. Notice where this black line is going to the south, so the jet stream is moving southwest, going on the cold side of the jet, and lining it northwest to southeast. So as these low pressures come in, they're sort of sliding northwest to southeast across the country. That's Wednesday, 11th of December, looking quite cold and unsettled. Certainly for northern parts of the country, it'll be cold enough to snow there, probably rain down in the south. That's a rather bizarre looking chart for the 12th of December, for the general election day. So that just looks generally quite cold, probably snow showers around, and I would have thought pretty icy too, but it's a very strange looking chart. And then go through to Friday the 13th, which is day 10. And the ECM has this low around Biscay that the GFS wants to bring the snow event with. So where that low goes, of course, remains to be seen. But we know what the GFS 6 o'clock run did with it, pushing it northwards into that cold air. There's the upper air temperatures. They do look quite cold, especially for northern parts of the country. And again, that's a very, very strange looking chart, isn't it? Very bizarre chart there at day 10. But it does look pretty cold, I have to say, and there will be widespread frost and icy conditions, and just generally not all that easy for voters to be getting out and about. This is the precipitation forecast from that ECM run from tameteo.com, and we'll just quickly run through this. So, quite a bit of dry weather for the next few days. It is turning more and set to the northwest. Not really till the end of the week, though, that the rain finally starts to break through across the country. This is at the end of the week with outbreaks of rain then spreading across many parts of the country. Into the weekend, a bit quieter for a while on Saturday, then wet and windy Saturday through to Sunday. Showery into the early part of next week, and by middle of next week, you do have the risk of some snow there through parts of Northern Ireland. Northern England, don't take that area too literally. It could be further north or south of that, but it's the idea that next week it's getting, it's not only staying on 7, but it's also getting colder as well. And we shift more and more towards snow in the second half next week, especially in the north, with the risk of perhaps some quite disruptive snowfalls to northern Britain as we're heading up towards day 10. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 13th of December. So we have 12 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational run. That's the run we've just been talking about, that look very unsettled with this sort of trough, shallow trough anyway, of low pressure covering much of northwestern Europe. We're on the cold side of a jet stream with that as well. We have another 10 here, including the ECM control run. We have the low pressure to the south of us. So again, we'll be pulling in the winds from the north-northeast with those. They're cold and settled. 8 with low pressure to our east. That will bring down a cold northerly wind. Another 8 just here with low pressure sort of over to the south of us. Ridge up towards Greenland and Iceland. They'd be cold and unsettled. 7 with low pressure over top of the country. And then 6 just here with low pressure generally away to our east. Most of those ECM ensemble members are looking cold at day 10, I have to say. So it looks as though up to like the end of next week, things are going to be turning colder and more unsettled. There will be the risk of snow in 2 weeks' time. These options that we got for the 18th of December, let's get the highlighter working. We have 21 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to our west. High pressure is to the northeast over Scandinavia, so this is a battle going on. This is trying to introduce moderate air from the Atlantic, but cold air is trying to push in from the east. Depending on what kind of air mass we have over the country at the time, that could either be bringing a lot of cold rain, or it could even be bringing some snow. We have 16 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to our west, so they're just going to be very, very unsettled, relatively mild, I suppose. 14 with low pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland, and they're bringing in southwesterly winds. They're probably the mildest option. Finally, this Albert FSB2 is looking for the next 4 weeks. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week's period will take us from the 3rd to the 9th of December. The coming week is unsettled to the north with low pressure up there. High pressure gradually getting pushed out to the west. So we're starting under high pressure conditions, but we're gradually turning things more and more unsettled as the week goes along. Week 2 is the 10th to the 16th of December, and looking cold and unsettled here. Low pressure is covering much of northern and western Europe. We're aligning the jet stream northwest to southeast. So that would be bringing in not only very unsettled conditions, it would be colder as well. Notice have a ridge pulling out into the middle of the Atlantic. Lines of jet stream northwest southeast. We probably have slider lows bringing rain or the risk of snow up to the middle part of December. Week 3 is the 17th to 23rd of December. Looks unsettled. Low pressures out to the west. A little bit milder though there as we're running up towards Christmas. Winds are sort of shifting west-southwesterly. And then finally, week 4. Which is covering Christmas. This is Christmas Eve, 24th of December to the 30th. Low pressure is out to the west. a northwest high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. That could be quite chilly again, with northwest to southeast alignment of the jet stream. So it's not desperately cold, but it could certainly be back to quite cool or even chilly conditions. And certainly for northern Britain, it's kind of pattern when you align the jet stream northwest southeast like that. It's a kind of pattern that can deliver snow to northern parts of the country. And you never know, maybe a bit of a surprise somewhere else too. So it's all looking quite interesting, but that's very, very speculative, so don't worry about that at all. To focus on, I think, is next week. So that's where the interest is going to be in the next few days. It does look as though it's going to get colder next week. We're going to align the jet stream northwest southeast and move the jet stream to our south. So we go onto the cold side of the jet next week. And as these areas of low pressure move into that cold air and clear away east, they pull down a further shot of cold air, if you see what I mean. So it gets colder as the week progresses, but stays unsettled. And, I mean, that GFS 6 rock run is clearly going very over the top with that snow event on Friday the 13th. So put that on the table right now. We're not going to be totally buried like that is showing. Almost certainly not. But it could get increasingly cold, and there is increasing wintry potential next week. I think that's quite clear within model output today, and that could bring some disruptive weather, especially for people who want to get out and about and vote. So, as I said in an earlier video, that's the problem with having an election in December, and probably the reason we haven't had an election in December since 1923, because the weather can be very, very dodgy, to say the least, and we're seeing evidence of that within the model output right now. It'll be a case of seeing what happens over the next few days to see just how wintry it starts to get next week. But few concerns, I'm sure, for the politicians in particular. Right, that's it for today's videos. Tomorrow I've got a 5-day forecast, which is a video update. I'm going to try and get the December forecast in as well tomorrow, if I have the time to do that. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.